Good morning, Jim Distortion here, doing a daily short from the studio. First time I videoed in here, a room full of furniture that I built for podcasting, but I'll bore you with that later. I wanted to talk today about conversation and the art of conversation and how everyone tells you, yeah, well, we have conversations every day. And I'm like, okay, you've got a smartphone. I'm recording on mine now. So you have the ability to phone anyone you want and talk to them whenever you can, as long as they're available. I bet you text all of your friends more than you do phone them up. Yeah? I bet the written word is now more about conversation than, standing in front of people doing it, because it's easy. And I'm starting to think that maybe people are forgetting how to converse, forgetting what it's about. And, texting is very soulless. It's very... There can be nuances put on word that is written to you that don't exist because it's controlled by how you're feeling at the time. If you get a blank statement on a text that just says, maybe it says, I'm going out Wednesday, okay, from one of your friends. Now, what they're saying is to you, in reality, I'm going out Wednesday, are you coming? What you see is, oh, you're going out, I'm not invited, because you got out of bed with the ump this morning. You got out of bed and you didn't, you don't want to know about anything. You're a bit narky. I don't care about any of this. So you pick up the wrong nuances on that. What about if that person finds you up and said, I'm going out on Wednesday, and you went, oh, cool, where are you going? And then it opens up this conversation about the whole thing. You both get excited about the situation and you feel included. You feel that you're part of that journey to get to the destination, which is going out on Wednesday night. It's funny, isn't it, how where before we had all of these, we had telephones and, people left messages like all around the place. When I was growing up in Somerset, phone would ring, my mum would take a message, and then when I get in at the end of the day, I'd get that message, and maybe I called them back then. More than likely, I called them back in the morning because I had to go to bed then. Right, people could wait. Now, everything has to be immediate, and I think that's affecting conversations as well. So, somebody talks to you, and they tell you some bad news. Oh, my dad died last week. My mum died this week. My cat, my dog, anyone died. Something sad. Do you know what happens on social media? Right? People go, oh, yeah, that's really sad. I had that too. My dad died. My mum died. My mum did die, right? My mum died, but it was a long time ago. And you never get over these things. But I don't feel the need to belittle somebody else's pain by adding mine. It's not a competition. It's not a place to be. It's not a forum to say, I am more miserable than you. I am more upset than you. I then win at life. What are you going to win? A goldfish? I don't understand people's needs to compete. Well, no, I do, because human beings are competitive nature, right? Okay. But somebody tells you that their whatever has died, then the question would be, how do you feel about that? Are you okay? Probably on social media, PM me, hun. Right? I don't know what to even say about that. But if you're in a conversation with somebody, yeah, the one thing that you don't want to do is make it about yourself or make it about a competition. If you two are talking to each other, presumably there is either some relationship between you two, i.e. you're friends, you know each other, you're enemies. It can be anything. Even if you're strangers, and this stranger wants to confide in you that they've lost this person. That confiding is the start of something. They obviously trust you. There's something about your face that makes them want to tell you that. Now, a lot of people roll their eyes inside and go, oh, what are you telling me this for? But you know what? If they're involved enough to speak to you, then speak to them or don't. Yeah, don't lead somebody on. If you don't want to have a conversation with someone, don't have it. Just say, I'm really sorry, I haven't got the time. Because that's an awful lot better than you standing there resenting them being a time burglar. Yeah, a bit of truthfulness doesn't hurt anybody. So if you're in a position where you can listen and you want to make a conversation, there's an awful lot of yes and no answers to everything. So someone tells you about a situation and then you go, oh, was that good? And they go, yeah. And then you both like that, what do I say now? If you were to say to that person, how does that make you feel? What happened afterwards? What's going to happen in the future? That opens a dialogue, and that becomes, a two-sided narrative. That becomes an ongoing storytelling of a conversation. Conversation really is if you look back at the fundamentals of it, it's storytelling. It's not, it's not Jack and Aurea, but it is the story of what's happening with them now. And by all means, you can relate, because if you have lost someone and so are they, then you understand. But instead of telling them your story in a combative way, maybe just, say, I can relate to that. And they'll ask you why, if they need to. If you're at the starting side of a conversation like that, so you're telling someone your bad news, and then they regale their tale of bad news, how are you going to feel? Are you going to feel better about that? Or are you going to feel neglected? Or are you going to feel angry that they haven't bothered to listen to what you're saying? Because that's what's happening. They've heard the one bit of your story and they're reacting to that. So if you happen to say, I lost this person, it's a tragedy, yeah? And then all you're hearing is the word tragedy. Yeah? All you're hearing is the doing word, the tragedy, the part of what they've said that's the most interesting. So you react to that and you go, I'm sorry. But then there's nothing to say. So open the dialogue. How did that make you feel? That's a great one. So what are you going to do now? Do you need any help with any arrangements? Only get as involved as you want to be. Don't get dragged into something, because also the other point of it is if you're in a conversation, you need to be in that moment, in that conversation, and be part of that. Because the final thing is that if you're pretending to be involved in something and not listening, then you're going to miss the point of the conversation. And also, people say, oh, well, nod and look attentive and look like you're actually involved in the conversation. But I tell you what, then why not just be involved in the conversation? Because there is no better way to show that you're invested in a conversation by being invested in the conversation. Showing that you are listening, not by saying and repeating, that's kind of derogatory, yeah, not by nodding and pretending, just by being present in the moment. And if you can't be present in the moment, say so. I've got to go, mate. I'm running really late. I'm really sorry. But I'll tell you what, I'll call you later and we'll have this conversation. Or drop it dead because you're not into it. You don't have to be in every conversation if you're not into it, or you don't know anything about it, or you just don't want to be there, because sometimes humans have to be singular. They have to be on their own. And sometimes you're not the right person to talk to at that moment. Obviously, if they're pouring their heart out to you, yeah, and they desperately need some help, you're going to have to try and placate that somehow, because otherwise you become a bit of a monster. You become a hard-edged human being, and none of us want to be that, do we? I don't know. The nuances of conversation are interesting. You have the ability to make someone or break someone's day. You have the ability to just bolster someone a little bit. Also, though, conversations, I've made out that all conversations are. Conversations might be about fluff. They might be about the lady that you like, the man that you like, the dog that you've seen, the puppy that's in it. But at the end of the day, if someone's reaching out for a conversation, there's probably a need behind that. And even if that need is just for communication, because they're a bit human and they're tribal, because all humans can be, they need to have some kind of contact with another human being, then see that for what it is. And if you can be present in that moment and be honest about the conversation, then be part of it. All right, I bored you long enough for today. I'm Jim Distortion. I do daily podcasts. I'm also going to do longer shows. I am getting to that, but I want to make sure that I've got the right kit and the right place and the right equipment to make sure that you get an entertaining show rather than two people boring each other to death talking to each other. All right, find me on Instagram, Distortion's Got Issues. Hit the subscribe button right there, yeah, and then you'll get my daily, whatever these are, daily rants, daily talks every single day. All right, I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.